Robert Bennett walked into the office with his usual air of importance. At 45 years old, he had worked at Tech Solutions for 15 years and believed he owned the place. His desk was filled with photos of his golf trips and expensive vacations. The silver nameplate on his desk reminded everyone he was senior project manager. Today was different. There was a buzz in the office. A new employee was joining their team. Robert hated changes, especially when they threatened his position as the office's top tech expert. "Did you hear about the new guy?" whispered Melissa from the desk next to him. "They say he worked for Google in India and has 2 master's degrees." Robert's face turned slightly red. "Another diversity hire, I bet," he muttered, though loud enough for Melissa to hear. She frowned but said nothing, used to Robert's comments. At 9:30, the department head, Mr. Wilson, walked in with a slim man in a crisp blue suit. The newcomer had dark skin, black hair neatly combed to the side, and carried a leather laptop bag. "Everyone, please welcome Arjun Patel, our new senior developer. Arjun comes to us with impressive experience and will help lead our new security project," announced Mr. Wilson. Arjun smiled warmly. "It is very nice to meet you all. I am looking forward to working with such a respected team." Robert noticed Arjun's accent immediately and rolled his eyes dramatically. A few colleagues saw this but looked away uncomfortably. Later that morning, Mr. Wilson called a team meeting to discuss the security project. Everyone gathered in the conference room, with Arjun sitting near the front, notebook ready. When Mr. Wilson asked for input on the project timeline, Arjun raised his hand. "If I may suggest, we could use the Agile framework I implemented at my previous company. It reduced development time by 30%. Before Mr. Wilson could respond, Robert laughed loudly. "Sorry, what was that? Could you repeat in, clearer English?" He exaggerated his own accent while saying this, making several colleagues shift uncomfortably in their seats. Arjun's smile faltered slightly, but he remained composed. "I apologize if I was not clear. I suggested using the Agile framework." "Yeah, I heard you," Robert interrupted. "I'm just wondering why we should take advice from someone who's been here for 2 hours? I've led 6 security projects here." 6. Did they even have computers where you came from, or just those little convenience stores? The room fell silent. Mr. Wilson's face darkened. "Robert, that's completely inappropriate." "What?" "I'm just asking questions," Robert said, spreading his hands with fake innocence. "I mean, did anyone actually check his credentials? Or did we just need to fill a diversity quota this month?" Arjun sat very still, his hands clasped tightly on the table. His face showed no anger, but his knuckles had turned white. "Robert, my office after this meeting," Mr. Wilson said firmly before turning to Arjun. "Please continue with your suggestion, Arjun." Despite the heavy tension in the room, Arjun spoke clearly and confidently about his proposed framework. He even used a whiteboard to draw out his ideas, impressing everyone except Robert, who sat with his arms crossed, occasionally making quiet scoffing sounds. As the meeting ended, people filed out awkwardly. Some colleagues patted Arjun's shoulder supportively or introduced themselves properly. Robert pushed past them all, bumping Arjun's shoulder on his way out. "Welcome to America," he mumbled as he passed. What Robert didn't notice was the quiet determination in Arjun's eyes as he watched him leave. This wasn't the first difficult person Arjun had encountered on his journey, and like all the others, he would face this challenge with dignity and perseverance. The next few weeks were very difficult for Arjun. Every morning, he came to work with a smile and a positive attitude, but Robert made sure that smile didn't last long. On Monday, Arjun found that his name was missing from an important email chain about the security project. When he politely asked Robert about it, Robert shrugged. "Must have been an oversight," he said with a smirk. "It's not like you missed anything important. Just some advanced coding concepts, probably too complex for your background." Arjun simply nodded and asked a colleague to forward him the emails. He stayed 2 hours late that night to catch up on what he had missed. On Wednesday, Robert assigned team tasks during the morning meeting. Everyone received challenging assignments related to their skills, except Arjun. "Arjun, you can organize the shared drive and update the team calendar," Robert announced. "Got to start somewhere, right?" Several team members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Melissa spoke up. Robert, Arjun has the most experience with encryption. Shouldn't he lead that part of the project? Robert laughed. Let's see how he handles the basics first. We don't know what kind of standards they have in India. Arjun completed his simple tasks by lunchtime, then quietly helped two junior developers with their more complex assignments. Both were grateful and impressed by his knowledge. By Friday, Robert's behavior grew worse. He began making comments loud enough for everyone to hear. I was at this great American restaurant last night, he said near Arjun's desk. No curry smell, no weird spices. Just good old American food. Some people might want to take notes I'm fitting in. During the team's coffee break, Robert accidentally spilled coffee on Arjun's laptop bag. Sorry about that, he said without sounding sorry at all. Hope nothing important from your homeland was in there. Arjun calmly cleaned up the mess. No problem, Robert. Accidents happen to everyone. Robert's face turned red at Arjun's calm response. He wanted Arjun to get angry or quit. That evening, Mr. Wilson stopped by Arjun's desk as he was getting ready to leave. Arjun, how are you settling in? He asked. Very well, sir. The team is mostly very welcoming. Mr. Wilson frowned slightly. Mostly? Arjun hesitated. He didn't want to cause trouble or seem like he was complaining. In his culture, handling problems quietly and proving yourself through hard work was important. It's nothing I cannot handle, Arjun replied with a small smile. Every new workplace has challenges. Mr. Wilson nodded slowly. I've noticed some things. If you ever want to talk, my door is open. After Mr. Wilson left, Arjun stayed late again. He wasn't just catching up on work now. He had started developing a new security algorithm that could detect threats faster than their current system. It wasn't part of his assigned tasks, but Arjun knew it could help the company enormously. Meanwhile, in the parking lot, Robert was talking to his friend from sales. I give him 1 month before he quits, Robert laughed. These foreigners can't handle real pressure. They'll go running back to India soon enough. What Robert didn't know was that Arjun had faced much bigger challenges in his life. Growing up with limited resources, fighting for scholarships, and leaving his family behind to build a better future had made him stronger than Robert could imagine. As Arjun worked late into the night, the office empty except for him, he wasn't thinking about Robert's harassment. He was focused on proving his worth through his work, unaware that his quiet determination would soon change everything. 3 weeks had passed since Arjun joined the company. Despite Robert's constant harassment, Arjun's work impressed many people. His quiet efficiency and willingness to help others made him popular with the team. Today was extremely important. Tech Solutions was meeting with investors who might put millions of dollars into their new security system. The whole team had worked hard preparing for this presentation. Mr. Wilson had assigned different parts to each team member. Because of Arjun's expertise, he would present the technical security features, a crucial part of the presentation. The night before, Robert stayed late at the office. He noticed Arjun's presentation notes on his desk. Looking around to make sure no one was watching, Robert made some changes to Arjun's data and charts. Let's see how impressive you are tomorrow, he whispered with a smile. On presentation day, everyone dressed in their best clothes. Arjun wore a dark blue suit and a red tie. He had practiced his part many times and felt confident. The meeting room was filled with serious-looking investors and company executives. Mr. Wilson started the presentation, then handed it over to different team members. Robert presented his part smoothly, receiving nods of approval. Then it was Arjun's turn. He began confidently, explaining the technical aspects of the security system. But when he showed the first chart, something seemed wrong. The numbers didn't match what he had prepared. As you can see, Arjun continued, trying to hide his confusion. Our system detects threats 80% faster than competing products. Robert raised his hand. Excuse me, Arjun, that's not right. The actual number is 30%. You're showing outdated figures. Arjun stared at his slides in shock. These were not the numbers he had prepared. I apologize for the confusion, Arjun said, feeling his face grow hot as all eyes turned to him. Robert jumped in. Let me clarify the correct data, he said, pulling up his own slides that showed the accurate information. The investors frowned. One whispered to another, Arjun tried to continue his presentation, but more errors appeared in his slides. Each time, Robert helpfully corrected him. By the end, Arjun's hands were shaking slightly. He had never been so humiliated in his professional life. After the investors left, Mr. Wilson called an emergency team meeting. "What happened today was unacceptable," he said, his face serious. "The investors were not impressed with our disorganization." Robert spoke up. "Maybe some team members aren't ready for such important presentations. Perhaps there are cultural differences in attention to detail." A few team members looked down, uncomfortable with Robert's comment. Melissa opened her mouth to say something, then closed it, afraid of Robert's influence in the company. Later that afternoon, Arjun sat alone in the break room, sipping a cup of tea and trying to understand what had happened to his presentation. Robert walked in with two colleagues from another department. "The problem with hiring foreigners," Robert said loudly, pretending not to notice Arjun, "is that they just can't handle real American business. Today was embarrassing. Maybe some people should go back where they came from if they can't do the job right." His friends laughed awkwardly, noticing Arjun sitting quietly in the corner. What none of them saw was Mr. Charles Davis, the company CEO, who had just walked up to the break room door. He stood silently, hearing every word Robert said. Mr. Davis had come down to personally check on the team after hearing about the problematic investor meeting. His face darkened as he listened to Robert's racist comments. Instead of entering the room, Mr. Davis turned and walked away, pulling out his phone to make a call. Arjun finished his tea, unaware that the worst day of his professional life was about to become a turning point in ways no one could imagine. The day after the disastrous presentation, Arjun came to work early. His desk showed signs that someone had been through his things. Files were slightly out of order, and his computer settings had been changed. He now understood what had happened to his presentation. Instead of complaining, Arjun simply fixed everything and started working. When Robert arrived, Arjun nodded politely as if nothing had happened. This calm reaction confused Robert. He had expected Arjun to be upset or even quit after yesterday's humiliation. "Morning, Arjun," Robert said with a smirk. "Hope you're better prepared today than yesterday." "Good morning, Robert," Arjun replied calmly. "Yes, I always learn from each day's experiences." Later that morning, something unexpected happened. Melissa stopped at Arjun's desk. "Can I talk to you in private?" she asked quietly. In the empty conference room, Melissa seemed nervous. "I saw Robert changing your presentation files the evening before the investor meeting," she confessed. "I should have said something earlier, but..." She looked down at her hands. "You were afraid of Robert," Arjun finished for her. "I understand." "It's not just me," Melissa continued. "Several of us have noticed how he treats you. We've started keeping records of what he says and does." Arjun was surprised. "Why would you do that for me?" "Because it's wrong," she said simply. "And you're one of the most skilled developers I've ever met. The company needs people like you." That evening, after everyone left, Arjun stayed late again. But he wasn't just catching up on regular work. For weeks, he had been developing a special security algorithm during his own time. The current system took 5 minutes to detect certain types of cyber attacks. Arjun's algorithm could do it in seconds. It was elegant, powerful, and unlike anything the company had seen before. Arjun worked until midnight, carefully documenting everything. He didn't create this for recognition or to get Robert in trouble. He did it because solving difficult problems was what he loved, and because he believed in the company's mission. Meanwhile, Robert grew more confident. The investors had expressed concerns after the presentation, but Robert had convinced Mr. Wilson that Arjun's cultural differences were to blame. Robert even suggested moving Arjun to a less visible role. What Robert didn't know was that Mr. Davis, the CEO, had requested all records of team communications for the past month. The HR department was quietly investigating something, but no one knew exactly what. The next day, 2 more colleagues approached Arjun privately, offering support and sharing their own experiences with Robert. "He's been like this for years," explained David from the testing team. "But most people either quit or get transferred. No one stays long enough to challenge him. And he's friends with several senior managers," added Jim from marketing. "That's how he survived so long." For the first time, Arjun realized he wasn't alone. A small community of allies had formed around him, people who valued fairness and recognized his skills. That afternoon, Arjun received an unexpected email from Mr. Davis's assistant, requesting a private meeting the following morning. No explanation was given. Arjun felt nervous. Was he in trouble? Was the CEO going to suggest he transfer to another team because of the presentation problems? Robert noticed the email on Arjun's screen as he walked by. Meeting with the big boss? Robert laughed. Don't worry, I'm sure there are janitor positions available if the development work is too challenging. Arjun said nothing, but that night he made sure all his work on the special algorithm was perfectly organized and ready to present, just in case. Whatever happened tomorrow, he would face it with dignity. Arjun arrived early for his meeting with Mr. Davis, the CEO. His hands were slightly sweaty as he waited outside the large corner office. He carried a folder with his algorithm documentation, just in case. At exactly 9:00 a.m., Mr. Davis's assistant showed him in. Mr. Davis was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He stood to shake Arjun's hand. Mr. Patel, thank you for coming. Please sit down. Arjun sat nervously, wondering why the CEO wanted to see him. I'll get straight to the point, Mr. Davis said. I've been reviewing your background and your work since joining us. Very impressive. Thank you, sir, Arjun replied, surprised by the praise. I also noticed some unusual patterns in how your talents are being used here. Mr. Davis leaned forward. Would you like to tell me about your experience on Robert Bennett's team? Arjun hesitated. In his culture, complaining about supervisors was considered unprofessional, but lying to the CEO would be worse. Sir, there have been some challenges, Arjun said carefully, but I believe I can overcome them with hard work. Mr. Davis nodded. Admirable attitude. But I'm concerned about the investor presentation incident. That's not like you, based on your record. Gathering his courage, Arjun opened his folder. Actually, sir, I've been working on something after hours that might interest you more than my presentation problems. For the next 15 minutes, Arjun explained his new security algorithm. Mr. Davis listened intently, occasionally asking sharp questions that showed he understood the technical details. When Arjun finished, Mr. Davis was silent for a moment. How long have you been working on this? He finally asked. Since my second week here, sir, in my own time. And does Mr. Bennett know about this? No, sir. Mr. Davis nodded slowly, then stood up. Mr. Patel, I appreciate your initiative. I'd like you to continue developing this, but now is your official project. I'll have HR formalize the details. As Arjun left the office, he felt a mixture of relief and confusion. What exactly had just happened? Later that day, troubling news spread through the office. The company's stock had dropped 15% after a competitor launched a better product. Rumors of layoffs filled the hallways. Robert gathered his team for an emergency meeting. As you all know, the company is facing challenges, he announced. Management will need to make tough decisions about which projects and people to keep. He looked directly at Arjun. Newer employees with less experience in American business practices will likely be the first to go. Several team members exchanged glances. Robert was clearly targeting Arjun. After the meeting, Robert approached Mr. Wilson in the hallway. When we make cuts, I recommend starting with Pato, Robert said. His cultural differences are causing team problems. Mr. Wilson seemed uncomfortable. That's not my decision anymore, Robert. Haven't you heard? Mr. Davis is personally overseeing all staffing changes. Robert's smile faltered. Since when? Since yesterday, and he's called a company-wide meeting for tomorrow morning. That evening, as most employees left early, worried about their jobs, Arjun received another email from Mr. Davis's office. Please prepare a 10-minute presentation on your security algorithm for tomorrow's company meeting. Contact my assistant for details. Meanwhile, Robert sat alone in his office, making a list of employees he thought should be cut. He put Arjun's name at the top, unaware that across the building, Mr. Davis was in a conference call with the board of directors. Yes, I believe we found exactly the innovation we need to turn things around, the CEO was saying. And the person behind it might be exactly what our leadership team has been missing. The next morning, the large company auditorium was filled with nervous employees. No one knew exactly what to expect from this emergency meeting, but most feared bad news about layoffs. Robert arrived early, sitting confidently in the front row. He had just made the final payment on his new boat and was planning a vacation to Hawaii. Despite the company's troubles, he felt secure in his position. After all, he had survived 3 rounds of layoffs in his 15 years at Tech Solutions. Arjun sat quietly in the middle rows, his presentation notes carefully organized. He had worked late into the night perfecting his explanation of the security algorithm so anyone could understand its value. At exactly 10:00 a.m., Mr. Davis walked onto the stage with several board members. His serious expression made the room fall silent. "Good morning, everyone," he began. "As you know, our company is facing significant challenges. Our stock has dropped, and our main product is now behind our competitors." People shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "This means we must make major changes to survive," Mr. Davis continued. "Today, I'm announcing a complete restructuring of the company." Robert smiled slightly, thinking about how he would console the team members who would lose their jobs, especially Arjun. "First," Mr. Davis said, "I want to introduce you to an innovation that might save our company." He gestured to the side of the stage. "Mr. Arjun Patel, please join me." Whispers filled the room as Arjun walked onto the stage. Robert's smile disappeared. For the next 10 minutes, Arjun clearly explained his security algorithm. He showed how it could detect attacks in seconds instead of minutes, protecting sensitive data better than any competing product. When he finished, Mr. Davis stepped forward again. "This innovation will become our company's new focus. Early tests show it's exactly what our clients have been asking for." The CEO looked directly at the audience. "This brings me to the restructuring announcements. We need a leadership team that embodies innovation, technical excellence, and the values that define our company culture." Robert relaxed again. Those descriptions fit him perfectly, he thought. "Therefore," Mr. Davis continued, "I'm creating a new position, Director of Innovation Security. This role will oversee all our security products and report directly to me." The room was completely silent. "I'm pleased to announce that Arjun Patel will fill this position, effective immediately." Gasps and scattered applause followed. Arjun looked shocked. Robert's face turned pale. The director position was 2 levels above his current role. But Mr. Davis wasn't finished. Additionally, we're streamlining middle management. Several positions, including senior project manager, will be eliminated. Robert felt like the floor was dropping beneath him. His position was being cut. This couldn't be happening. "Those affected will be offered other positions where available," Mr. Davis explained. "Human resources will meet with each of you this afternoon." After the meeting, Robert sat stunned at his desk. His phone rang. It was HR calling him in for his meeting. 20 minutes later, Robert walked out of the HR office in shock. He had been offered a position as a junior developer on the new security team. The salary was 40% less than his current pay, and his new supervisor would be Arjun Patel. Robert wanted to quit immediately, but reality hit him hard. His new boat payments, his daughter's college tuition, and his mortgage meant he couldn't afford to be without a job. The tech industry was struggling, and finding a comparable position would take months. As Robert returned to his desk to pack his things, he saw Arjun in Mr. Davis's office. Through the glass walls, he could see them shaking hands, both smiling. The world Robert had known for 15 years had just turned upside down in a single morning. Robert's first day as a junior developer was humiliating. He sat in a small cubicle instead of his former private office. His new desk had barely enough room for his computer and a photo of his family. Gone was his nameplate that proudly displayed Senior Project Manager. At 9:00 a.m. sharp, Arjun called his first team meeting. Everyone gathered in the conference room that Robert once controlled. Now Arjun stood at the head of the table, looking confident but not arrogant. "Good morning, everyone," Arjun began. "Today we start building the future of our company. I'm excited to work with each of you." His eyes met Robert's briefly, but there was no triumph or mockery in his gaze, just professional courtesy. "Let me outline our goals for the next 3 months," Arjun continued. He presented a clear plan for developing the security system. Each team member received assignments that matched their skills. When he came to Robert, Arjun paused. Everyone in the room knew their history. Some wondered if Arjun would now take revenge. Robert, given your long experience with the company, I'd like you to handle the integration testing between our new system and the existing infrastructure. Your knowledge of our older systems will be valuable here. The assignment was fair and reasonable. Robert nodded stiffly, unable to find anything to complain about. After the meeting, Robert returned to his cubicle, feeling strange. He had expected Arjun to humiliate him or give him impossible tasks. Instead, Arjun had given him important work that matched his skills. Over the next few weeks, Robert struggled to adjust to his new reality. He now had to learn new coding standards that Arjun had implemented. When he didn't understand something, he had to ask for help, sometimes from people who used to report to him. Worst of all, he had to attend one-on-one meetings with Arjun each Friday to review his progress. Your testing found some important bugs, Arjun said during one such meeting. That saved us a lot of time. Good work. Robert mumbled a thank you, confused by the praise. He had been doing the bare minimum, hoping to make Arjun look bad. But Arjun seemed genuinely appreciative of even small contributions. One day, Robert's computer crashed while he was working on an important test. He had forgotten to save his work and lost 3 hours of coding. Frustrated, he slammed his desk. Having trouble? Arjun asked, appearing beside Robert's cubicle. My computer crashed and I lost everything, Robert growled. Let me help, Arjun said. For the next hour, Arjun sat with Robert, helping him recover and rebuild the lost work. He even showed Robert some shortcuts to make the job easier. Why are you helping me? Robert finally asked. After everything I did to you. Arjun looked at him thoughtfully. My grandfather taught me something important when I was young. He said, how you treat your enemies says more about you than how you treat your friends. Robert had no response to that. As weeks passed, Robert noticed changes in the office. Under Arjun's leadership, the team worked better together. People seemed happier and more productive. The new security system was developing ahead of schedule. Even Robert's own situation had improved. His smaller salary meant simpler living, but he was sleeping better without the stress of management. And for the first time in years, he was actually coding again, something he had once loved before becoming obsessed with status and power. One evening, as most people were leaving, Robert overheard 2 colleagues talking about Arjun. He's the best manager I've ever had, one said. He actually listens to everyone's ideas. And he never makes people feel small, the other added. Unlike some people we used to work for. Robert knew they were talking about him. He sat at his desk long after they left, thinking about the kind of leader and person he had been. 6 months had passed since the company restructuring. Tech Solutions was thriving again. Their new security system, based on Arjun's algorithm, had become the industry standard. The company's stock price had doubled, and everyone received bonus payments. Robert had changed during these months. His expensive boat was sold, and his family moved to a smaller house. At first, he was angry and bitter about these changes. But gradually, something shifted inside him. Working directly on the code again had reconnected him with his love for problem-solving. Without the pressure of managing others, he found himself enjoying work for the first time in years. More importantly, watching Arjun lead had opened his eyes. Arjun treated everyone with respect, from the cleaning staff to the CEO. He gave credit to team members for their ideas. He listened more than he spoke, and despite his position of power, he never made anyone feel small or unimportant. One morning, Mr. Davis announced that an important new client would be visiting. This client, a major bank, needed the highest level of security for their systems. Arjun assigned Robert to the presentation team because of his deep knowledge of the product. This surprised many people, including Robert himself. On the day of the presentation, everything was going well until one of the bank's vice presidents, Mr. Hammond, made a comment about Arjun. I'm surprised they have someone from your background leading this project, Mr. Hammond said with a smirk. Is this some kind of diversity program? The room fell silent. Everyone looked uncomfortable. Arjun kept his professional smile, preparing to respond diplomatically. But before he could speak, Robert stepped forward. Actually, sir, Robert said firmly, Arjun Patel is the sole inventor of the algorithm that makes our security system the best in the industry. His background includes 2 master's degrees and experience at Google. We're fortunate to have him leading our team. Mr. Hammond looked surprised. The meeting continued, but Robert noticed Arjun looking at him with a thoughtful expression. After the client left, Robert approached Arjun in the hallway. "Can we talk privately?" Robert asked. In Arjun's office, the same office that once belonged to Robert, the 2 men sat across from each other. "Why did you defend me today?" Arjun asked. "That was unexpected." Robert took a deep breath. This was one of the hardest things he had ever done. "I need to apologize to you," he said, looking directly at Arjun. "The way I treated you when you first joined the company was completely wrong. There's no excuse for my behavior." Arjun listened quietly as Robert continued. "I was afraid of losing my position to someone more talented. Instead of improving myself, I tried to tear you down. I used your background and accent against you because they were easy targets. It was racist, it was wrong, and I am truly sorry." When Robert finished, Arjun was silent for a moment. "Thank you for your honesty," Arjun finally said. "I won't pretend your actions didn't hurt me. They did, and I can't forget what happened." Robert nodded, accepting this. "But," Arjun continued, "I believe people can change. Your actions today showed me you're not the same person you were 6 months ago." As Robert stood to leave, Arjun added, "The security team is expanding. We need a testing manager. Someone who knows our systems well and can lead a small team. Would you be interested?" Robert was stunned. "You trust me with a leadership role? After everything?" "I trust the person you're becoming," Arjun replied, "not the person you were." As Robert walked back to his cubicle, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years, a sense of hope and purpose. The path to becoming a better person would be long, but for the first time, he believed it was possible. And it had taken losing everything to help him find himself again.